RotoGrinders! Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka blenderhd, blenderhd. You can follow me there on Twitter. And this is the show where we go over a little bit about yesterday's slate, pretty garbage slate, and then talk a little bit about today's slate, depending on, we got news or whatever, how many games we got. 1, 2, we got way too many games, right? Something's going to happen, right? We got 1, 2, 3 at 7:30. Then we got 3, 4, 5, 4 at 8, 1 at 9, 1 at 10. Okay, so not as many late games, but whatever you expect to happen is never going to happen. I mean, it's NBA DFS. I mean, today we got the Spurs. Apparently, everyone's sitting on the Spurs or something. We have DeRozan's out. Keldon Johnson's, I don't know. Did he leave? Is he dead? Big Body Johnson, as they call him on Crunch Time, if you're a premium member. So there'll be a lot of Spurs. And you know what we love when it comes to NBA DFS is Pop, right? Popovich, right? Oh, okay. Spurs truck. What could go wrong there? Everything. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I see in the YouTube chat. I see you people in the YouTube chat. You know, you're my favorites. You're better than the podcast people. The podcast people, they download and they listen to it later. They're not here live interacting. Either posting your questions, yelling at me, talking to one another. So I see you guys out there, Card Fan, Go Sox Bro, Rob B, Daniel Hutchings, Jupocalypse, Jason Robinson, Ronald Coley, First Round Exit, Matt Mears, Meat Plow. Of course, always our favorite, Mr. Plow. Mr. Plow is here. So hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up, the thummy thumbs. Keep my apple juice cold. I'm going to have plenty of apple juice for the next couple of weeks. Like, we got too much, almost too much apple juice. And it's a mix of brands. So like I got some Minute Maid and also got some Kroger brand. I don't know why that ended up happening. When you do the online ordering at like a supermarket like that, like Kroger, like you have to check on like if you allow substitutions, and then they'll just choose whatever the hell they find, whatever. So apparently my wife uses the substitutions checkbox on the Minute Maid apple juice, because then some of it is Kroger apple juice. It doesn't matter. I can't tell the difference. But there's plenty of apple juice. Keep it cold. Hitting the thumbs up button, hitting the subscribe button if you're new here, hitting the notification bell to know when we go live. I go live every weekday, 11 a.m. in the morning Eastern time. But we also got Grinders Live tonight. Grinders Live is it's going to be at 6, which is, it's always 90 minutes before the main slate on both sites. And then right after that is for premium members, Crunch Time. That's a premium show that you could listen and watch on the RotoGrinders website, as well as the RotoGrinders app, and sign up for premium. Sign up with the link in the description, rotogrinders.com/premium. Get $10 off your first month, whether it be an NBA only subscription or a combo. You get everything other than NASCAR. All together, all in one. We got soccer today. You want to play soccer? We got soccer projections. You want to play golf? We got the golf stuff. We got Noto and Tambo and cards. They do all the golf stuff. We got everything here. At the LOL, there's got to be LOL projections or something. Everything you could ever want is at RotoGrinders. So get $10 off your first month with the link in the description below. But yesterday was not a good day. I'm just going to briefly flash. It was a pretty bad day. Did fine on Yahoo, but basically just got crushed. Like FanDuel finally getting crushed on FanDuel. Just a 95% loss, right? Because on FanDuel, didn't have Harden or Giannis. So that you lost. That's it. You're done. DraftKings had both, but not the right value plays. And then Yahoo, I had both. So there you go. So it was a big losing day, but that's the breaks. You go up and down, right? That's the cycle of life. You know, you go up, up, up. You go down, down, down. You go up. You know, as long as you're trending in the right direction, it should be fine. But by the end of the season, but yesterday we had, to start the day, the value yesterday, I'm using that in quotes. The value was not exciting, right? It's like, okay, I guess we're playing the Mavericks again with the Porzingis sitting. I guess, Sve's starting for the Pistons. And then like DSJ started, but you could have played Saban Lee off the bench, right? He was probably a better, projected better off the bench. without the usage in the starting unit. And it's Dennis Smith Jr. How many minutes is he going to actually play, even if he's starting? So you got that. And then we had the Shake Milton was back, and then Seth Curry was ruled out. So like Shake Milton became more of an option. Aminu was starting. He doesn't really do all that much. So like James Johnson started, right? We had what are we going to do with Powell and Cauley Stein because Kleber's out also. And then James Johnson started. Then Jeff Green got ruled out. So that meant that DeAndre Jordan could actually see a couple of more minutes. He hasn't been playing as much with Jeff playing small with Green at the 5. So that upgraded him a bit. So I mean, a lot of stuff that happened in between, like 5:30 and 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever. When did it lock? It was an early lock, right? So I mean, especially with the value being quite thin or suspect, why not take a shot on those types of guys? I mean, I think if we would have known a lot of that information beforehand, Svi would have been a little bit more owned. James Johnson would have been a little bit more owned. DeAndre Jordan would have been a little bit more owned. I think Willie Cauley Stein was projected well earlier in the day, and then once the lineup came out that Powell was starting, he went down. But he still ended up around 12% owned. But I mean, but for most part, most of the builds you can see from the ownership and the finger roll were stars and scrubs, which is always a little bit suspect when you look at the values and you're playing Svi and Saban Lee and Shake Milton and like you're hoping to get 20 points out of them, and even then you need the studs to smash. Now, obviously, Harden and Giannis smashed. But like Hardaway didn't really get there, right? I mean, he was cheap enough to 21. I mean, for raw points wise for that price, I guess you got it. Like Jared Allen killed, but like Aminu didn't do that well. Hurd actually did for 5K. He was a little bit more popular than I thought he would be. It was a weak small forward position. You're not playing Hardaway. If you're going stars and scrubs, a lot of times you were playing in that 4,500 to 5K range. To grab an extra guy, so I understand the here to play there, or you play like a Garland. Yeah, I get it. But then you couldn't fit in DeAndre Jordan because you're playing like Dwight Powell, and Dwight Powell ended up scoring. Dwight Powell had 6 points or something, right? Right, here you go, 24% owned with 6.5. So if you just avoided Powell, you had a pretty good shot. I mean, you could even see here amongst, I pulled out a bunch of 150 maxers, ones that placed the lineup somewhere high. And for the most part, I mean, yes, I mean, Powell was in, right? 36%, 32%, 31%, 19, 23, 14, 33, 9. But not a lock button by any extent. I mean, Powell was okay. I mean, projected okay. He was minimum price, but minutes are suspect, and obviously he has barely any usage when he's on the court with Luka. But it's not like people didn't play him. Like stuff like this with Svi. Like obviously I can understand 150 max type players, multi-entry players, which I used to do. I used to do 60, 80, 100 lineups. Now I'm playing the single entry smaller field stuff. I can understand that we get news that the Pistons lineup comes out and not as many people will react to it. Does it make Svi like a great play? No. It's not a smash button type of thing. But had we known this information earlier, instead of being 22% owned, he would have been like 30% owned. So you get arbitrage there of taking advantage of the news before the rest of the field will. You could say the same thing with James Johnson, right? You kind of knew that earlier in the day. It would be like, okay, I guess James Johnson's going to be a value punt power forward. Now, obviously, before the news, he would have been nowhere near 13% owned. He would have been like 1% owned, if that. But jumping on that train, obviously, RBX88 had 0. JK123 had 0. Scorer Patrol had 1%. But I always say that I'm more likely to err on the side of going overboard on late news, even if it's not after lock. even if it's right before lock, a half an hour, the closer it gets to lock, what's the difference between Zvi and Saban Lee? Obviously, Saban Lee scored more points. What's the difference between him and Shake Milton and Al-Farouq Aminu and James Johnson and Josh Jackson? And I mean, I could let Danilo Gallinari. I mean, he's 6.5 points. What was up with that? Like, what's the difference? Not as big as you think. So if more people are going to be putting in, Dwight Powell in the cheap center spot. I saw here, like, who used Baines? Right, like bro. Like Baines was like 5% owned. Not like Baines is a great play. He scored 20 points. But he's just a couple of $100 more than Powell. And what makes Powell and Baines any different from one another? Guys that start and barely do anything. Right? I mean, it put the same type of role. So if Powell's going to be 24% owned and Baines is going to be 5% owned, find leverage there. Are you that scared of Dwight Powell breaking the slate? Maybe, maybe not. But when these values are suspect, I'm more likely to go towards the late news. We knew Porzingis was going to be out earlier in the day. We knew that. You woke up in the morning, 1:30 in the afternoon, you knew that. So everyone was prepping the Hardaways and Lucas and Richardsons and Dorian Finney-Smiths, whoever on the Mavericks. But like, had we known all this other information, then you'd be like, oh, I guess it's Chuck James Johnson day. I guess it's Chuck Zvi day. I mean, Zvi ended up somewhat chalky. But not necessarily James Johnson, DeAndre Jordan. Like that Jeff Green news came out like 15 minutes before lock. Does it mean it made DeAndre Jordan a great play? No, of course not. He projected better. Give him more opportunities for minutes. Yeah, sure. 28 points, okay. It's fine. But you could see RBX, Encore Field 8K, Rinpack. But even some other guys. Squirrel Patrol 14%. Like DeAndre Jordan was probably not even in like any of these players' player pools. Like it didn't show up in any, 0 lineups until the news. But then be more inclined to only going to be 12% owned, probably should be 22% owned. And play more lineups like that. Same for James Johnson. And reduce your exposure on a Hardaway, on Dwight Powell, on Al-Farouq Aminu. How did he get to be 16% owned? I don't know. You needed some cheap punts to jam in Harden and Giannis. Or like Irving, Harden, and Giannis. Like that was the construction. But you could see here, just by looking through Results DB, which is free. You don't even have to be a premium member. It's free, rotogrinders.com/resultsdb. You could look through any contest you want. I'm looking through the big, large field GPP. It's only for DraftKings, by the way. Okay, DraftKings offers downloadable CSVs for the contests publicly, so we could download all of them. So that's why Results DB just for DraftKings, not for FanDuel. FanDuel doesn't do that. Complain to them. But you could go through it and you could look. You could see different contests that you play. But I like studying the lineup construction dynamics of the best players in the world, the best GPP players in the world. Where did they find leverage? Look at Squirrel Patrol. He said, screw it. I'm not going to play any Saban Lee. No Saban Lee in my lineups. Right? Play a lot more Jared Allen, which obviously got him there. But obviously, if you're not playing a 27% own, I think that's the main reason. Look, Al-Farouq Aminu, 0. Herder, 0. Garland, James Johnson, 1%. He played 100% Dean Wade with 15 points. Well, that didn't get him there. But Dean Wade, that was late news, right? He was going to start for the Cavs. Taurean Prince was out, and they started Wade in the lineup. But what's the difference between Wade and any of these other guys? Saban Lee and Zvi and Shake, and really not that much. Maybe what, a half a point in projection, a point in projection? It doesn't. Dean Wade was probably was less projected, yes, but not dramatically. A point, maybe. So why play a guy that's 27% owned versus the guy that's 8% owned? That's the logic behind it of like, is there that dramatic of a difference? And then by playing Dean Wade in every lineup, obviously you have a higher risk strategy, a higher risk, your diversification is low. It's like you live and die by Dean Wade. Do you want that? If you don't mind it, you can. But having an 8% owned Dean Wade in the lineup means that you could just, Harden, Hardaway, Giannis, Svi, Al. Just basically play a lot of the chalk. And you can see up here, most of his lineups contained, a lot of the chalkier players on the slate. But got away from some of the what could have been considered suspect values. Players that projected okay for their price, they were good, but not dramatically so that people were treating them as that they'll be a little overowned. So I get it. It didn't. Score Patrol didn't get there. No, it didn't work. Right? Saban Lee for 3,200 at 34 points. He put up what 10, 11x. So like that locked Score Patrol out of getting a winning lineup. But I understand it. But you can see he's the only one that did that. He's the only one that went significantly under. That had no Saban Lee lineups. Just like, nope, I'm not going to deal with it. But you see Neil Corfield, right? 8%. JK 123, 13%. But then you see Dude Life, 40%. Okay. Build more lineups with that, but less lineups with Powell, right? More lineups with Lee, less lineups with Powell. JK 123, less lineups with Lee, more with Powell. Well, that didn't work out. But played a lot of Zvi and Shake Milton. And go down here, still Dean Wade, more Damian Lillard, paying up at guard. Randall, he was 6% owned, 19%. Baines over Powell. Okay, I get that. Bobby Portis even, right? Bobby got 33.5 points. Furkan Korkmaz, right? Korkmaz started. So we have that also. So like you look down here, yeah, some of these guys didn't. We see here, let's see, I'll scroll back up. Yeah, we got JK 123 and Squirrel Patrol. And then still some other guys, had a little at 2%. They put up 32 points. Late news. Korkmaz is starting. No, okay. It could have gone horribly wrong. Look, Powell starting, dead. Zvi starting, okay. Dean Wade is starting. Dean Wade is starting, dead. It's not about choosing a great player. It's just a matter of introducing leverage into your lineup. That's, if you could build a lineup that doesn't have Saban Lee or Zvi in it, and it projects nearly as well, which it probably could have, because it's not like they projected like absurdly. You're eliminating 27 plus 21, 48 to 49% of ownership in your lineup. And you could go and you could take a 4 to 8% owned guy. Take two of those guys. You lose the ownership. Your projection isn't all that different. A point and a half. So that's why I use Results DB to see what type of lineup constructions did these players make. Like Brick didn't play any Zvi. Okay. Didn't build lineups with him at all, but played Bruce Brown, who got 40 points. Or Colin Sexton, who got 38 points. Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle. So a little bit more balanced builds. Because you can see here, Harden 38%, Giannis 32%, Irving 30%. So he built more lineups where it had like one stud and then mid-range. He had Jokic. Okay, there's a leverage pivot in a way, if you want to call it that. But this is what I do to look at what types of constructions. Not the plays, not the did they go over or under. Just because they went over on this, that means most of their lineups looked like X. Some of their lineups look like Y. Some of their lineups look like Z. And seeing that, and I could visualize it through the exposures. Cheap power forward, okay. Cheap power forward, cheap center. Then you have Giannis and Harden and Irving in the guard spots, right? And Giannis in the whatever, one of the forward spots. You go, okay. That's how a lot of the lineups were. And then obviously the cash lineup was somewhere around here, right? And towards the top. Pick 8 guys that make sense over here. And you can see what the chalk construction is. And how did you get away from the chalk construction? Did you keep the construction and just change, 2v2, 3v3 between some of the players? Or did you go to a different construction? That's what I like seeing in Results DB. This is how you should be reviewing your play in GPP. It's not about did you get the players right? Did you make similar choices as some of the most profitable players in the game? Because you're not going to win. You're going to lose 90% of the time, okay, in GPP? So most of the time you're looking at top players and they lost. But if you said, can I change? Can these top players make my choices for me? If you said yes, well, this is what they did. So that's why studying top players, it helps you. It helps. That's how you learn. Don't immediately go into the next slate. Who cares about yesterday? Right? It's called daily fantasy sports. Right? That's what Dean would say. You don't live in the past. Why not? You could learn from the past, so you don't. You have to learn from history, so it doesn't repeat itself. Especially in NBA DFS, what you're going to need to wait until an hour before lock just to see any of the chaos that happens on the injury reports and who's going to play, who's questionable, who's whatever. So instead of wasting your time at 11:22 a.m. worried about lineups, what Spurs? Oh my God! I need to jam in the Spurs. Review yesterday's slate. 15 minutes, something. It'll be helpful. So looking through the YouTube chat. Let's see. YouTube chat. Meat Plow. Mr. Plow, do you think setting a 60% max for any one player during the larger slates or 70% in smaller slates is helpful in avoiding player busting or getting injury? Well, that's just a matter of diversification. It's a matter of risk tolerance. There's no strategy. If you don't want to take that risk, then fine. You're like, I can't be 100% on a guy because if he gets hurt, then all my lineups are dead. Well, also understand that, is today the last day of DFS? Is there no more DFS after today? If you're locked in the guy and all your lineups are dead, does that mean you're done with DFS? If you're playing within your bankroll, if you've already allocated a small percentage every day, progressively, you don't have to, so what? So all your lineups are dead. Then tomorrow's another day. But if you want to mitigate, if you want to lower your risk, sacrifice a little EV for the peace of mind or less variance, so the swings go less than, they don't go like this, they go like this, then yeah, sure, why not? You don't make good lineups. Sometimes you can make 100 lineups and they all contain one of the same player. Sometimes they're 95 out of 100. And then you have to choose would I rather have 10 of these types of lineups or 10 of those types of lineups or 20 of those types of lineups? There's hundreds or thousands of lineups for you to choose from. Many of which are plus EV. Which ones do you choose? Do you want to choose all? Do I want to choose all of the Tim Hardaway Jr. lineups? Well, you could. If we played the slate out a million times, it would be the same as you playing I'm going to play none of the Tim Hardaway Jr. lineups. If you played it a million times, you're both going to come out to the same thing. So do you play THJ? Do you not play THJ? It doesn't matter. In the lineup, as long as the lineup's good, who cares? Mathematically, it goes together. There you go. You have THJ in there. And you could find another lineup that doesn't have THJ. And they could both have the same mathematical expectancy or similar, very close, virtually the same. And have different players in it. So if you're building 20 lineups, And let's say you could find 100. Let's say, I could build 100. Some have THJ and some don't have THJ. So it's just a matter of what 20 do you want to choose? You could choose all 20 THJ lineups. We've established that these 100 lineups are about equal to each other. Close enough. So which 20 do I play out of them? Do I play the top 20 regardless, even if it's a 0.1 difference? Yeah, you could. Yeah, that would be the high. If we play this slate a million times, that would show the highest expectation. The top 20. But the difference is between if we played it out a million times, the returns would not be that dramatic anyway. So do you want to sacrifice this little part of EV? Sacrifice a little nibble of expected value and have much more diversification in your lineups. And that's what a lot of top players do. They're playing high volume, right? Thousands of slate, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands per slate. You go all in on people, you go heavily on people, your swings are going to be massive. And some higher stakes, high volume players don't mind the swings. Some mitigate the swings by being a little bit more balanced, diversification-wise, in GPPs. Like Brick 75, like right here, like no one, like its highest was 58% for James Johnson. So he had a lot of players in his pool. He used a lot of different constructions. It's unlikely that when he puts in 150 lineups that he's going to get 0 back. But also, it's not going to be where you put in 150 lineups and you could get 10 of your lineups in the top 20 because they're not correlated to each other as much. But that's a matter of diversification. That's a matter of risk tolerance. That has nothing to do with strategy. Okay, I found a lineup that's plus EV. Now I found another lineup that's plus EV. I found another lineup that's plus EV. How many are you playing? I'm playing 50. So find 50 of them. But what happens if the same guys in all 50? Well, then you could still play it. Just understand that if that guy bombs, all your lineups are dead. That guy does well, all your lineups could be great. You could win first, third, seventh. You could win a ton of money. So you can see, barbell. When you're less diversified, your swings are going to be bigger. When you're more diversified, your swings will be smaller. Which one is better? There's no better. The journey, the end is going to equal the same. It's going to be the same at the end. But the end in the long run is like 47 lifetimes of yours. You're not going to hit. You're never going to hit that. You're going to be dead by the time that happens. So would you rather sacrifice a little EV in order to not go broke or not have less swings? The less percent of your bankroll that you're playing on GPPs, the more risky you could be. You're playing 0.5% or something, and okay, I bomb all my lineups. Okay, I lost 0.5% on the day. The stock market lost 4 times as much yesterday in your stock portfolio. And then it'll come back up. It'll do whatever. So 0.5%, a percent, is not that big of a deal. You're playing 10% of your bankroll? Well, maybe you want to be more diversified. I mean, you don't have to be, but now your risk of ruin is higher. Are you willing to take that risk? If you are, then good, so be it. Go, have fun. It's fine. Hopefully you have enough of an edge to survive. Get lucky in a way that, you hit big early. But that's the reasoning behind this. It has nothing to do with I like this player. I'm going to be 100%. I don't know if Score Patrol said. I don't think he hit the luck button on Dean Wade. I think it just happened to come out that way. I think it happened to come out that some of this value is suspect. 27% don't Saban Lee coming off the bench with minutes. Who knows how many minutes he's going to play? Score Patrol said, I don't want to have any part of it. I could find other people. I could find other constructions. That was wrong. It ended up being wrong, but the mentality, the strategy of that type of lineup construction makes absolute sense. Saban Lee had an X% probability of smashing. And there are other players in the 3 to 4K range that not as high as him, but not zero. So he decided that's what it seemed like. I don't know about the lock buttoning of the Dean Wade, but I can't see. I don't know. I can't see him lock buttoning it. I could just see that he just showed up in 100% of lineups. Or it could have been one of those things where it's 2 minutes before lock and you're not finished, and it's just like whatever comes out on the next run, that's what I'm throwing in, and that's what ended up happening. Sometimes it's just you run out of time. I tried to get Svi in, I tried to get this in, and I got a ton of Dean Wade. Actually, I got 100% of Dean Wade, and it's a minute to lock, and I need to upload my CSV. And the game locked. Sometimes it's just that. Sometimes you could go on Yahoo and see good players have like their dummy lineup in. You'll see that once in a while on Draftkings or Fanduel. 150 of the same lineup with some 2 or 3 weird guys. Like, why are they in their lineup? They didn't upload in time. They didn't, something. A lot of times in NBA, you're still switching out or whatever. But sometimes it's that. Let's go through the YouTube chat. YouTube chat. Eric Smith, blender for one slate. I want you to ignore projections and go with your gut. You got to know how good it feels to win with just your own judgment. It feels so empowering. It's not profitable. I don't care. I think people don't understand why I play DFS. I play DFS to make money. That's be all end all. If DFS was free, I wouldn't have ever considered playing it. If DFS was just free games right now, I would no longer be a RotoGrind. I would no longer play. Maybe I'd be a RotoGrinders, but I tell you, I'm not playing tonight. I have no idea what's going on. There's no money on the line. There's no point in playing. There's zero. There's zero. It's a waste of time. Absolute, utterly a waste of time. And then most likely, almost definitely, if DFS did not exist, or any type of financial betting market, something, there's no way to make money on it, I'd never watch sports again. Other than soccer. Soccer I'd watch. I wouldn't watch the Super Bowl probably, or maybe you'd throw it on. You'd be like, okay, who's in the Super Bowl this year? Okay, 2 teams. I don't know who the players are. Whatever. If it wasn't for DFS, what judgment? I don't care about. I care about making money. You're going to be building lineups based on your gut. 90% of the people that play DFS are going to be building lineups based on no mathematical, any type of logic or any type of consistent strategy, a plus EV approach. And so there's an inefficiency in the market, and I'm going to take advantage of that inefficiency. Just like in poker, it's the same thing. Who plays poker for nothing? Poker is a game that involves bet. Imagine playing a game where the chips don't mean anything. Like, what's the point? Why are we even playing? Why are we wasting our time passing cards around? Because poker's one long game. You can't just say, we're going to play 3 hands of poker and whoever wins. It's like, no, now it's just luck. Am I going to get pocket aces this hand? I mean, most likely I'm going to win. But over the course of 3 million hands, then we'll see who the better player is. So for me, I view this the same way. So do I go with my gut? I have no gut. I'm not doing this for pride. I don't care about pride. I don't care about takes. People pat me on the, go, you faded. Thank you. Thanks for saying fade PJ Tucker. It's like, I don't even know if I said to fade PJ Tucker. I just said, if he's going to be, he's the type of player that if he's chalky, he could easily put up no points. So if 20, 25% of people are going to play him, maybe maybe consider non-PJ Tucker constructions. Is that a take? No, it's a wide range of outcomes player that has a limited ceiling, and he's going to be chalky. So it's like it's a volatile asset that in and of itself likely has a limited chance of a 10x score even, and going to be higher owned. That's all that matters. The PJ Tucker, you don't have to take I don't even have to know the name, the team, anything. You just tell me that those characteristics, I'll be like, I'm going to be less likely to have that guy in my lineups. Less likely. Doesn't mean it's zero, but just less likely. Just like on that slate before, the power forward was just garbage. So that's the reason why PJ Tucker was owned. Let's see. Right, Alex Santi got it right. Right, I'm like Joey Knish from Rounders. Right, LOL, gut. I got 3 kids to feed. Exactly. Right? Oh, you going out with the, your glory and your pride. Oh, you're gonna beat, you're gonna make it big or whatever. Like my kids eat with the money I make. For the pots I push. Right. That's what it is. Let's see. Going through the YouTube chat. Because I always scroll down and then I have to scroll back up again. Because the way the YouTube pop-up box works. Let's see. Oh, Michael Papadopoulos. Hey, Jordan, any thoughts on the Spurs situation? Would you fade Dejounte Murray tonight for small field, single GPPs, 2K to 3K entries? How about the lower salary players? We don't know anything. Any thoughts? What do we know? We know nothing now. We don't know what the hell's going to change. Like right now, if I go in and build 20 lineups, just default whatever on DraftKings. This is our 836 projection. I mean, who knows? Maybe I should update it. So right now we're getting what? Saban Lee, Patty, basically Mills, Walker, Murray, Looney. Drew Eubanks is in 3 lineups. Right here, Drew. Oh boy. We're gonna see a lot of Spurs. It's a 9-game slate. Instead of thinking what to do with the Spurs, think of what to do with your constructions. I think that could be more useful. So, like a lot of people, this is what average players think. They look at Lonnie Walker, right? He's 3,700, and they go, "Okay, I'm going to fade Lonnie Walker, and I'm going to then go down to that range. So instead of playing Lonnie Walker, I'm going to play someone else in that range." They go to PJ Tucker's there. PJ Tucker's in that range. Right. Lonnie Walker's going to be chalk, so I'm going to play insert guy here that fits. I don't even know if there is. Is there anyone anywhere in the range? We got Saban Lee, but he may be chalky also. Patty Mills. Or you do that for Patty Mills. Let's at least go up to and I'm going to fade Patty Mills. And I'm going to play Theo Maledon instead, right? Or something like that. Instead of thinking, well, don't think about like pivoting. Think of, you take a look at the lineups that we have here. How about a lineup that doesn't contain 3K level players? So it's not a matter of, I'm going to fade Lonnie Walker for someone else at 3,700 or so. I'm going to fade Patty Mills and play someone else at 4,300 or so. Instead, I'm going to fade Saban Lee and play someone else at $3,800 or so. No, it's more of, how do I build a lineup that I don't need to play a guy for 3,800 in the point guard spot? Because obviously this lineup has Jared Allen, LeBron James. So that a more balanced build may not require you to have 1, 2, 3 players that are under 4K. Because that's what most of these lineups are. Lee, Mills, Walker, right? We're getting Mills, Walker, Saban Lee's a 19 out of 20. We got Jason Tatum in a whole bunch of lineups, all of them. So there's one non-Saban Lee lineup. Let's take a look at it. That's still a Saban Lee. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Jalen Noel. Is there any big difference between Jalen Noel and some of the cheaper guys? No. But you're playing the same construction. So if you were to I'm going to fade Saban Lee. Or no, this actually still has Saban Lee in it. Right? Okay, here's one. There's Josh Hart. This is more that what I'm talking about. So it does have Theo Maledon, but now this lineup does not have LeBron James. This has John Wall, Josh Hart. A little bit different construction. Still has Jason Tatum in it. Now, if you take this again and go what if I don't even need to play Lonnie Walker? Then now you're playing an even more balanced lineup. So you don't even have Tatum or Allen. You have a little bit cheaper of a center, a little bit cheaper of a power forward. And you'd see what the projection is and the differences are. And maybe you could play plenty of lineups that still sacrifice projection, but you get a ton of ownership to go along with it. Reduction in ownership. And you play a more balanced lineup where instead of having to find a pivot for Lonnie Walker, you're just playing a lineup that doesn't need a $3,700 player. You're naturally going to be different. Your construction is be different, which means most likely your 2v2, 3v3 is going to be completely different from other people. So that's what I mean by you don't pivot. That's what the lineup. This is what I mean by lineups, not players. This is lineups, not players. Oh, I like my lineup, and instead of that guy, I'm going to play another guy. That's not really the best way of thinking. Think in terms of 8-player lineups, not onesies and twosies. I'm going to play this guy, then that guy, then this guy. Oh, I got this much left, so I'm playing LeBron. No, look at this lineup and go, can this win? Can this win? Is this different? How could I get different? Still playing higher projected players. But you're more likely to do so by changing your construction rather than finding a $4,200 guy that projects for 22 points. You're probably going to sacrifice a lot of projection by doing that. But you could find another construction that doesn't require a $4,300 shooting guard. And maybe you can't. Maybe you do that and you go, any type of lineup I choose like that. Are you playing single entry, small field? It's like any lineup I found like that, the whole lineup, I need to sacrifice 8, 10 points unnecessarily. I could still find good enough lineups that have Patty Mills in it that I'm not willing to sacrifice 8 to 10 points on that specific slate. And you decide to play. That's more of the mindset that you should have than who do I play, and have thinking in terms of the players. Who do I play? Who do I fade? It's like, no, what lineups do I want to make? What types of constructions do I want to make? Do I want to make double stud lineups? Do I want to make pay up at guard, go down at center type lineups? Because obviously, and then you find the players that fit those types of builds. So obviously, if you're doing the chalk construction today, as of now, as of 11:44, 5 hours, 6 hours from now, this could all change. So it's a big slate. We don't know. But as of right now, you're paying down at guard and you're paying up at forward. Tatum, James, that's the construction. You're paying down at point guard, shooting guard, small forward. Paying up at power, at some forward position, 2 forward positions. As of now. Can you make a construction that does the opposite? Paying down at forward and paying up at guard positions more. Not necessarily in both of them. And see how they stack up projection-wise and ownership-wise. You find some that you're satisfied with, then you play them. Alan Alexander. Hey, Blender, do you know a good source for getting starting lineup updates? RG notifications don't always post or send starting lineup notifications for each team. We typically do. I'm not on the news team, so I mean, I get the notifications. I also have TweetDeck. So I have a second monitor. I have 3 monitors here. So I have TweetDeck and I have a basketball list that has beat writers and everything. So I'm like looking at it anyway. So you could do that. But that's obviously, there's a lot of garbage in there. Team accounts and whatever. We typically only send the starting lineup notifications if it's worthy to, if it's something that there's a change. Right? Svi's starting for the Pistons. We got a notification on that. James Johnson started for the Mavericks. Dean Wade started for the Cavaliers. Sometimes there may be an individual notification of so-and-so is going to start for whatever, But a lot of times, like if the lineup is as expected, then there may not be a notification. But then, if you don't get anything, there's nothing to worry about. It's as expected, I guess. But I mean, you can just use Twitter. Let's see. Uncrabby Cabby. That's a weird name. Uncrabby Cabby. Can you analyze the roster construction of the top single entry players, which it's still the same players? I always struggle with that type of construction to use on a per slate basis. It's the same thing. Just you need more leverage in larger field contests. And in single entry contests, the chalk tends to be chalkier. There's no the big single entry. It's the same people, pretty much. But I mean, the difference between the contests, like we could use lineup H, we could use results DB. What's the big single entry contest? Like the Showtime or something. 667 Showtime. Okay. Let's compare that to the finger roll. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, the finger roll. Let's go to the Showtime, which is a small field. It's $100 single entry, right? And let's go to the finger roll. Look at the ownership differences, right? Single entry, smaller field. You're going to side more with projection than you are with leverage. You don't need as much leverage to build, to beat 667 entries than 49,000 or 73,000, whatever it was. So while Harden was still the most owned player in the finger roll, he was the most owned player in the Showtime, but he was 53% owned. Tim Hardaway was 44% owned. Dwight Powell was 38% owned. So whatever the chalk construction, it's even chalkier in single entry GPPs, smaller field stuff. So you could take advantage of that. Saban Lee at 27% owned is much different than Saban Lee at 38% owned. Same for Dwight Powell. And then you could look on the other side, like Evan Fournier. I'm not saying that these are good plays. They're not good projected plays. But you get an ownership discount on a lot more players. Look at Julius Randle. 6% in the large field, but only 2% in the small field. If we sort by fantasy points, look at Steph Curry. He was not even 1% owned in the Showtime. Probably rightfully so, but I mean, you could see these differences here. You get a lot more. Bradley Beal was less than 1% owned in the Showtime. If you played him in the lineup, look, Toby Harris, 0.15% owned in single entry. Scored 46 points. If you just played him and then built your lineup with the best players, that's great. You're done. There's so much more available leverage in the single entry small field stuff. But once you get that 1 point or something, you're done. If you're going to go down, you're going to play a Curry or Beal or one of those guys, and they're going to be 1% owned. The other 7 spots, just, press the optimize button. I mean, just whatever. Play the best projected plays at that point. You're good. The 1% own Steph Curry. But you could also view it from the perspective of who would you consider fading because they're over-owned? Do you think Tim Hardaway Jr. should be 44% owned? 31% owned, it's like, maybe I play some of them. 44% owned, when you're playing a single entry lineup, you're like, maybe that's how I decide to get leverage. Now, obviously, you're not going to know the exact ownerships before the slate locks. But our ownership projections here at RotoGrinders, which you can get if you're a premium member, hit the link in the description to get $10 off your first month. They're for the ownership projections are for the large field stuff. So you have to like extrapolate. Well, if they're going to be this chalky, they're going to be a little bit more chalky there. And the guys that in large field we project for 8% ownership may only be 2% owned in the small field contests. So you could judge your lineups based on that. But there's no reason to necessarily go over like lineups like, well, what did the best players do? Like that they're doing the same thing that they would do in the large field stuff. Just that their higher projected lineups are going to be in something like the Showtime. They're building 150 lineups, and it's going to go progressively down, leverage-wise from there. Their 140th lineup is not going to be in the Showtime. Their first line, their second lineup, based on projection, is going to be in those types of contests. Let's see. Bills, how many cash lineups do I play? Only one across multiple? Or do you play 150 different ones in a double up? No, I just play one. What's the purpose of playing 150? Number one, I think that the multi-entry double ups are some of the worst contests you could play in DFS. I don't play them, or rarely. Sometimes I did a couple of minutes before lock, and it's still a couple of hundred, and yeah, I'll throw in a couple entries. But those multi-entry double ups, just avoid them like the plague. I see no reason to play them. Yeah, once I get up to 20,000, 30,000 of volume on a slate in cash, yeah, then maybe I have to, maybe because that's the only way I can get that. But other than that, I avoid them completely. You play the most optimal lineup you can, and you play it against as many opponents as you can. The most diversification. That would be the best way to go. So instead of playing 150 cash lineups into one cash contest, it's better to play one lineup into 150 different contests with different opponents if you can. 50 head-to-heads with 50 different opponents. Double ups that have, now obviously there's going to be overlap. There's going to be the same people in a lot of double ups. But if you play in more double ups, you'll get 5 different different users in here and 7 different users in there. So you're diversifying your portfolio. You're still only playing one lineup, but you're playing it in a lot of situations all at once. Let's see. Any last questions? Feel free to type them in the chat. People are I like that people come here and they answer the questions for me in the chat. Right? The regulars here. Sean A says or asks, is it too simplistic to say that the guys with the highest positive difference between smash percentage and projected ownership are the best leverage plays? No, I don't think that is. Yes, it is too simplistic, but the concept is correct. But I mean, it's not a raw number. It's all in relation to the slate. But yes, if you wanted to use that as a blunt guide, then that's what it would be. Guy that's 36% to smash and going to be 4% owned. That's 32, right? If we take a look here, so you have to relate it to the slate because maybe there are other guys that are even more. You're rarely going to find someone that's 36% to smash and only be 4% owned. If we take a look here, we go by smash percentage, right? And we have ownership. Don't even go by this. If you're watching this later, please. It's 11:55 in the morning. All these projections could change. People could be in, people could be out. Who knows? But as of now, we take a look and you go here. It's like, oh, Jason Tatum, 1936 versus these guys. Now, obviously, they're different price ranges, so you can't compare them like apples to apples like that. But like Jared Allen at 13%, Jeremy Grant 27, because you go 27, 9.8. So that's what, 17 or so difference? Trae Young, right? So yes, conceptually, you're right. I mean, but you're going to find plenty of differences. Chris Paul, but it's all in relation. You have to adjust for salary. So it's not just sorting by smash and doing this. But yes, if you from a simplistic point of view, as a blunt guideline, if you just sorted by smash in lineup HQ and then look at projected ownership and just see where it dips and go, oh, Tatum's lower than these guys. Oh, Trae Young is 7% and he comes up over here. Like if you just did that, that's fine. Or you do the opposite. You go by ownership and then you see anyone that's low. Right? You look and go, oh, they're going to be owned. They're going to be owned. They're going to be owned. Oh, Theo Maledon is going to be owned, but in comparison to the guys that are around him, Josh Hart seems to be owned, but compared to the guys around him, right? You look like this. Patrick Williams, based on our current ownership or whatever, could be owned, but less. I'd rather play Garland. I'd rather play Draymond Green, or you could just do that. But of course, we're just looking at players now. This is the opposite approach. Just because, oh, I'm going to play that guy. Well, what do the lineups look like with that guy in? Maybe the lineups don't work out because of positional and salary. But if you're looking to like, oh, what would be a good leverage play? Or what would be a good spot to fade? Like, yeah, this is a blunt way to do so. But then it's more thinking if you're building a lot of lineups or you're building one lineup. I'm less likely to build a lineup with Maledon in it. I'm more likely to build a lineup with this guy in it. And then if you want to set your, I want to make sure not to have more than 10% Theo Maledon lineups. Maybe you end up with 0. Who knows? But yes, you could use these columns as a blunt tool. And obviously it gets updated closer to lock, like ownership changes, projections change. So by doing this now, early in the morning, or you could get your process down. And you could do all of this in 15 minutes. Probably less. I could do it in 10. Now, is it going to be the most thought out in 10 minutes? Probably not. So maybe do it in a half an hour. But you need to have a process where, okay, I'm identifying this, I'm identifying that, I'm running these types of lineups, I'm looking there. Oh, yeah, that's good. The only reason why I could do it in 10 minutes is just because I have more experience doing it than you. That's it. You have to, number one, understand the concepts and then apply them. Once you do that over and over and over and over and over again, and you're using the same tool that you've been using for years, I could do it in 10 minutes. I could show up for the slate 10 minutes before lock and build lineups. I could. It would be better if I spent a little bit more time. If I said at 5:30 when the injury report comes out, okay, what should I expect? And then start from there. So a lot of times I'm spending 60 to 90 minutes in total. Not just plugging stuff in all the whole time, but just paying attention and thinking and strategizing and going, well, if I play these types of lineups, can I play those types of lineups? And then monitoring the news. That's what I said yesterday. I said, once MLB comes back, MLB is so much calmer. So much like, okay. The guy that normally bats 8 is now leading off. Oh, okay, he's 3,200, and people are going to be jamming that guy in. I mean, like, much more relaxed. There's less unexpected stuff happening in MLB DFS. Going through the YouTube chat some more. Let's see. I always have to scroll back. People are talking amongst themselves. Why do I have to show up if people are going to talk amongst themselves? That's fine. Jenna Sandy says, hi, Blender. One thing stuck with me what you've said. Take advantage of DFS players' overconfidence in their picks, right? I'm not confident in anything, right? I'm going to take advantage of people's, oh, this guy's going to smash. How do you know? There's a probability. Sure, okay, I guess so. Let's see. Just scrolling through. People are just answering my questions. What's the point? Yeah, you guys could do the show then, right? You guys could do the show. Perfectly fine. But I like the fact that people are learning. People are helping out the newer people that come find the YouTube channel, find the show, right here, which I do I have no problem. I know a lot of times I'm answering the same questions over and over again. I know it seems like it's Groundhog Day sometimes. I know. But that's the point of this show. You show up, you ask questions, I have answers. We talk a little about yesterday's slate. We talked a little about today's slate. We go off on a little bit of tangents. The show's for you. It's teaching time. It's, morning, early morning. You get, centered for your day, your DFS playing day. And that's what I'm here for. That's the whole point of why I'm here. If you want to understand like the more on the concepts that I'm talking about, get the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports Audio Masterclass. It's my course. Me and James McCool, we put it together. 15 hours. It's all the concepts of the game theory concepts of DFS that apply to every sport. So if you're not getting the vernacular, you're not getting you wouldn't need a reference guide, a little structured education, rather than piecing it all together. Just go to theoryofdfs.com and check it out. You can listen to it multiple times. Many people say they listen to it over and over. Maybe not back to back. They listen to it, play a month later, listen to it again, play, listen to a chapter over. They watch one of these shows and go, yeah, I know he mentioned that type of thing in one of and then go back and listen to it. That's what it's for. That's what I'm here for. Teaching you how to play DFS better without lineups, not players. Play whoever you want and all that jazz. So that's why I'm here at 11 in the morning Easterns every weekday. That's where I am here on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.